Is Fortnite finally dying for good? The discussion has kind of been going around the internet. It's something that I've seen big creators and even small creators talk about. And it's something that I want to weigh on because as someone who primarily just built their whole career and stuff on Nintendo, and that's for my main channel, Nintendo Land, I wanted to make this channel specifically for videos like this because some of you might know, or a lot of you might not know, I am a huge fan of Fortnite. I'm one of those people that I feel like have a pretty good idea as to what's going on with the game and stuff. I'm someone who's been playing the game since the very, very beginning. I just never made content on it. I played every single season of every single chapter and got every single battle pass until the recent chapter. Right around the middle of chapter 6, I stopped getting battle passes. I stopped doing challenges. I just kind of been away from the game. But I played every single season and won in every single season. I have the victory umbrella for every season. So I've been there since the very beginning in 2017 in the beta days. But yeah, I love Fortnite. I do. It is a game that I will always be thankful for Epic Games for providing some of the greatest gaming experiences I ever had with my buddies. I remember the first 2017 Christmas, hiding in a bush, being terrified to play solos just because it was just so scary. It was just an experience unlike any other. Everybody getting off school, rushing home to play this game. I remember everybody, skipping college classes to get off early. We'd come home and there'd be lobbies of like 20 people sitting around waiting to see who's going to join up in what group and, who's going to play with who. Oh my gosh, it was such an experience. Losing sleep the night before a new season, especially the night before a new chapter. It was just everything, man. It ran everything. It's one of the first non-Nintendo games that really just pulled me away from Nintendo in general. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly the reason why I brought my first non-Nintendo console since the PS2. I brought an Xbox just to play the thing back in 2017. So, but yeah, it did a lot for me as a gamer, and I just love the Battle Royale experience. It was just peak at its time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and glaze this game the entire time. It's not the point of this video. The point of this video is just to talk, because I see so many people just fighting in the community, so many people blaming content creators for, items being brought in, items being taken out, so many people saying that the game is dead, it's losing its viewer count, so many people saying that, the content is low, it's just not the way it was. Like Cypher PK made a whole video talking about how the content is just as low as it ever has been. So I can see this as a casual Fortnite fan, as a competitive Fortnite fan, as a content creator myself, just not for the game of Fortnite. Once again, if you don't know, I run the channel Nintendo Land, where I pretty much just talk about Nintendo everything, almost at 400,000 subscribers there, and I've been doing that for like the last 7 to 8 years. So I know how content creation works when the highs the lows are hitting, and the peaks, the troughs. Like I know kind of the whole content sphere and what brings in content and how it looks and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to dive into this game because this isn't just another one of those is Fortnite dying? Is Fortnite dead? Every single season that people make. This is me being completely straight up honest. I don't know if Fortnite is going to last much longer. This is one of the first times I've ever seen such a low engagement in a game after just a month or two of a new chapter. It is not even February yet. This new chapter, I believe, started at the beginning of December, end of November. And it's already just, January 23rd as of the time of recording this video, and people are already just kind of fed up with the game. There's a lot of reasons behind this, and I want to dive into every little reason why I think this is happening and why I knew this was going to happen from the beginning, just feeling the way, Epic Games was going. But let me just talk about where it just kind of fell apart, at least for me. I'm somebody that stuck with this game through the thick and thin. I loved even the seasons that a lot of people didn't like. In fact, Chapter 2 Primal season, I was a huge fan of. I actually really liked it. I thought it was unique. It was different. It changed the loot pool drastically. It changed the mechanics of the game. Instead of having snipers, you had to work with bows with different effects that you could, add to them. I thought it was a really cool, unique change up to change the formula and the meta of the game to something that was different. People complained, of course. It is what it is. But if you ask me what my kind of favorite moments and favorite chapters of the game, obviously Chapter 1 entirely was just so good. Chapter 2 I even really, really liked. Yeah, that just it kind of went back and forth from there. From the beginning of Chapter 2, it was really, really high, and then it started to go downhill since then. Chapter 4, I really enjoyed some of those seasons, and Chapter 6 had a couple seasons that I enjoyed as well, but for the most part, that's really about it. It started to just feel like every season was just a rinse and repeat of the last. They are reusing ideas, redoing things that we've seen 100 times. I mean, how many times did they have to do vault seasons? Oh my gosh. I mean, it seemed like every chapter we were getting some type of undercover, underground vault, type of season. We had so many of those. We had chapter 2 heist or whatever was the secret agents. We then had another one, I believe, in chapter 4 at the very end. It was like a kind of vampire heist thing. And then we had another one in chapter 5, like underground to start. And then chapter 6 had another one with the baseball bats in that season with like the thieves and stuff. It's just like they keep repeating the same themes over and over and over again. And I think that's the general kind of what's going on with Fortnite. They keep repeating content. It's just like, it's 9 years. 2027 in the summer will be 10 years. It'll be a decade of Fortnite. And we're still going through the same stuff. After 10 years of a video game, I think that's when people start to really expect some big changes. And I feel like Fortnite's changes aren't big enough. These new chapters don't even feel special anymore. The last 3 chapters have felt very average to me. Starting with chapter 5, they've changed the art style to this more realistic look. I feel like chapter 4's art style was the best. It was colorful. It was vibrant. It felt like Fortnite, where it's starting to move almost towards like, not quite like Call of Duty realism, but more of a realistic color palette, more of a darker tone, a kind of grayscale look. And I just don't know if I like it. It just doesn't feel like Fortnite to me. I like that bright, vibrant colors of chapter 2, 3, and 4, and it just feels like that's just kind of out the window. But anyways, it just doesn't feel like new chapters, really. Like I said, since chapter 5, there's not really too many new mechanics that they're adding. They're not really adding any brand new vehicles or anything that changes up the meta. The maps themselves have felt genuinely identical. Chapters 5, 6, and 7, all the maps have a very similar layout to them, where they feel very close to each other. 7's, I think, is so far the best. I think it has some really unique locations, but still, it just feels like the same terrain. It's playing it safe. You have your snow mountains towards the south or the north, and then you have, your forest, a couple neighborhoods, and, a beach or something. It just seems like it's the same thing over and over and over again. And when we jumped into chapter 4's map, it was the first one that I felt like they finally did something different. They throw this island out in the middle of space in this void, and like the edges of the island, you could fall off into space. It was something different, dude. And they had pieces of different islands brought together from different realities. And I thought that was such a unique idea for a map. And it changed the way the map looked and played a little bit. But now it's just like, here's a map that, I can close my eyes and design chapter 8's map, I guarantee you. Like, you're going to have your desert area, you're going to have a snow mountain, it's the same layout, I feel like, over and over and over again. And it's just like, I want to see them go bizarre, balls to the walls, like show off like a crazy map with insane biomes and like things that look like a fantasy biome. Like one biome's like all space themed, and maybe one biome's like Jurassic Park themed and there's dinosaurs. Like, give us something crazy. It's just like they've been playing it so safe, and that's the thing. You jump into these new chapters, and it just ultimately feels like a new season. Like I said, the last 3 maps have just felt like a new season. I mean, it's good changes and stuff, but it's not enough to keep people engaged in a game that's been out for almost a decade now. It's just confusing to me. And I knew this was going to happen. I think another thing that kind of hurt not only content creators, but the excitement around this chapter is Epic decided to do something completely different this time around, which I was not a fan of. Starting with the Simpson mini-season, they decided to do this thing where they bring in content creators, and I don't know if it's their idea of trying to get content up for the game, but they bring in all these content creators in order to play the game early so they can get like early footage and they can talk about it for people. I do not like that. I do not like that at all. I mean, one of the biggest, most exciting things about a new season or a new chapter is everybody, content creators, casual players, big, small, they're all playing the game at the same time. We're all sitting and playing the game at the same time and experiencing the game for the first time together. It's something that's just, it's special. And then you see your favorite content creators when you wake up the morning of a new update and you're like watching all their videos and stuff. I feel like that's even better for views because, everybody's waiting to see what's going on. When there's like 100 content creators that's been brought in and then you're getting like leaked footage. I remember people were leaking videos of the new map and stuff and we were getting looks of it. It was just sloppy. It was messy. It wasn't exciting anymore. They kind of took away that hype, and immediately I just was not interested. I was like, I've seen the early footage, and for one, I was like not impressed by the early footage. I was like, yeah, that looks like a slightly different map. You know what I mean? It just feels like, it takes away from the excitement of a new chapter now. I don't like that. I really do not think they need to do that in the future. I don't know. It's just not interesting to me. And, I think there is a reason why out of the two seasons that we recently just got with the Simpsons season and this brand new Chapter 7 Season 1, they have been the lowest for content views I've seen from Cypher. He was showing off different content creators. It's been the lowest viewed videos that they've had on their channel for a new chapter start. I think he said like most content creators weren't passing even 900,000. There wasn't a single video that passed 900,000 views, which is pretty low for something like a new Fortnite chapter. But yeah, it was strange, and they were trying to figure out why it's happening. I think that might be a big indicator, like the new thing that Epic is doing, bringing content creators in to play a new season before, and it's kind of annoying because I get that content creators help to carry the hype and the game for a while now, but there are some people like me who have been playing the game even before some of these new content creators, like people that have been playing this game since Chapter 0, Season 0. You know what I mean? And we have to sit and watch other people play the game before us on a new chapter when we're still here for 10 years. It feels kind of like we're just being put to the side. I don't know. It just feels like they're putting, prioritizing money and people over, the diehard dedicated fans that's been playing this game since the beginning and hasn't stopped. I don't know. I feel like, for me sticking around with this company and spending as much money as I have on skins and battle passes and stuff for the last 10 years for this company, it's just kind of going unnoticed, which of course they're not supposed to notice me. I'm a casual gamer on their game. I'm not a content creator for Fortnite, but yeah, I mean, even as a content creator for Nintendo, I can recognize this kind of sucks. It's kind of like, it ruins the hype for somebody that's like waiting for this new chapter that's been playing the game and being dedicated to your game, a dedicated fan for the last 10 years. I don't know. It just left a kind of a sour taste in my mouth, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's a problem right now. It's a lack of change. I don't understand why Fortnite's not changing things, and I think it might be due to this yearly chapter formula that they're doing now, where like every year now is a new chapter. Instead of it being like 10 seasons and then a new chapter, or even like 6 seasons and a new chapter, 8 seasons and a new chapter, it's 4 seasons and a new chapter, plus like a mini season that they throw in there now. Which let me go ahead and say, I don't mind the mini seasons. I think if you're going to do a collab, you might as well do it in a mini season where you can actually have like a map that's based on the collab. I love the Star Wars collab. People hated it. Once again, I think it's cool to change the loot pool entirely and, change the meta up. I thought that was pretty cool. I loved all the guns, having all laser guns, even the shotgun being a laser gun was pretty cool to me. But yeah, I think doing stuff like that is still pretty cool. I don't really have an issue with that. But it's just these chapters, man. They don't feel special anymore. And, people are like, what does Fortnite need to do? Like, their viewer count is once again dropping to an all-time low. The content creation views is dropping to an all-time low. What is it that people, want from Fortnite, I guess is what I'm saying. What is it that Fortnite can do to revitalize this game? And, it might be straight up nothing. They are adding updates. They're adding guns every now and then and stuff to the map and little events. And, obviously their little, collaborations that they do, they're still happening. I mean, we're getting freaking The Office skins. Like, you're getting Dwight as a skin in a few days. So it's just like they're adding stuff to the game, sure. But it's just like, is that stuff that people are even going to care about in 2026, almost 2027? At this point, there's, I like to quote Incredibles, once everybody's super, nobody will be. That's what Syndrome says. And it's funny because it's so true. Once, you have everybody in the game, nobody's special anymore. Once you have all these celebrities, I mean, everybody that's a celebrity has pretty much been in the game. I mean, there's still a bunch that they can add, but definitely when it comes to movies and shows, it feels like they've done hit about 70% of every movie, film, show, all of the media. It's just like they've flooded this game with so many skins and so many collaborations. It just feels like, is anybody special anymore? Nothing surprises me anymore. I saw the Office skins. I'm like, of course. SpongeBob's in the game? Of course he will be. Like, there's nothing that genuinely shocks me anymore. And I used to be upset that Nintendo didn't allow Epic Games. In case you didn't know, Nintendo actually denied Epic Games from using any of their characters because they wanted their characters to only be played on Nintendo Switch systems. They didn't want you playing as Mario on an Xbox or a PlayStation. And I get that to an extent. And I was really bitter at first. I was like, dude, I want to play as Samus, because they had Samus planned for the Bounty Hunter season of Chapter 2. And it never actually came into fruition. And I think they was also going to do it with probably like Link or something. But At first I was bitter, but then I sat and realized, I was like, am I really bitter about this? Because I think this may have been a good thing. I think it shows restraint, where every company's throwing their characters at Fortnite, and it's just becoming this oversaturated celebrity game, if anything, compared to, its original character story and lore game that it used to be. The lore is getting back to where they're shoehorning in the 7 because they know, fans really want them back. But still, yeah, it just doesn't feel like it has that original pizzazz and that original love that they used to have now. And just like seeing people run around as freaking Kylie Jenner in Fortnite just kind of proved my point. Or was it Kim Kardashian? One of them. It might be both of them. But like either way, it's just ridiculous. Why do they need to be in a kids game, dude? It's just like it's money, and content last, in my opinion. And the content, like I said, the new chapters don't feel like new chapters. I feel like the only way that to properly save this game is to truly reboot this game. And I just don't know how they can do that. They put themselves in a bubble with all of these, paid skins and cars and stuff where they can't change too much. They can't even really add or take away the cars because they've got this, skin wraps and stuff that you can buy for cars. And it has to be there can never be a season now where cars don't exist, which I get, like, we need cars, like, that's fine. But I'm just like, it just changes. It puts them, their arms behind their back where they can't do certain things anymore. They have to have a map with specific roadways. Like, they can't have one dream of mine was, I don't know if you guys remember, like, at the end of chapter 2, we were getting some like leak concept, or I think at the end of chapter 3, one of them, we were getting leak concept of, I think one of the seasons of chapter 2, you could go into this facility and see Dr. Sloan's screens, and they showed these concepts for Fortnite Island, and it looked really cool. It looked like a tropical island with a volcano in the center of the map. It looked like the entire center of the map was raised. If you remember Caldera from Call of Duty's Warzone, it was kind of like that, just a giant mountain in the middle of the map, and the rest of the map spread out towards the sides. Giant tropical forest and jungles. It looked really, really cool. Mountain cliff sides hanging over the rivers. It looked really, really, it was one of the coolest looking maps I've seen. And they never went with it. Instead, it was just been all like the same oriented flat maps, snow mountains, deserts, and they haven't really shocked me with a map design yet. And it just there's good ideas I feel like they're having, but they're not executing any of them. The maps don't feel different. The content doesn't feel new. They need to reboot this thing. I don't know if that comes in the form of Fortnite 2, if it comes into what I think they need to just do is do a book 2. Everything that we've experienced so far from chapters 1 through 7 has been book 1. Maybe jumping into a new book where they're, a soft reboot of the game would be awesome. They don't have to get rid of the skins and everything, but instead maybe, push everything, all the skins and all that into one. Maybe you can categorize it in your locker, like all my book 1 skins and stuff, all my book 1 outfits and everything that I bought. That could be pretty cool. I don't know. They put themselves now in a boat, though, where I'm like, there's certain things in the game where, you could pay for things like glider trails and cars and stuff to where they can't really get rid of any of those things anymore. They can't get, they can't get rid of any of the, vehicles or some of those vehicles that have like the Jeep skins and stuff, because there's like a Scooby-Doo machine that some people may have bought and stuff, unless you refund everybody for all those stuff that they bought. But I don't know. They kind of just put themselves in a tough situation. Like I said, unless they do like a Fortnite 2 and it's a completely different game that you got to download, I don't know really how they come back from something like this. It's, and how do you do that? How do you move from one game to a next? Like, it would immediately, everybody would just be so mad that they bought all these skins, spent so much money into Fortnite 1, and you can't carry any of that over into Fortnite 2. I know people would be extremely disappointed. And I know there's some games out there that have situations like that. Like, for instance, Call of Duty, you can't carry any of your skins over to the next Call of Duty games, which kind of sucks. So I don't know. They might have to just bite the bullet and just say, it is what it is. But I mean, they're yearly Call of Duties. This is a game that's been out for 10 years. So like, that's going to hurt a lot of people that spent so much money into this game, man. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I really don't know how they move on from this. And that's why I feel like, it might be just time to pass the torch on to another developer and just, I don't know. I don't know if Fortnite can carry that excitement anymore. I love Fortnite to death. I do. But I just don't know if it can continue on with the current state. I mean, I think any game that's been on the market for 10 years is going to start to lose excitement. I don't think you can keep content pushing and excitement and hype pushing for a game that's been on the market for 10 years. It's just it's the way things go. It's time to move on to something else. Like Smash Brothers Ultimate was huge for so many years. It's not going to still do huge content, 10 years later. you got to move on to what's next, what's hot. And, I know people are moving on to Arc Raiders and stuff, and there'll probably be another big game this year that people are excited about. But it's just ultimately, I think it's time to let Fortnite just kind of slowly die off for a while. I love this game. Like I said, it's one of my favorite games I've ever played. But I also recognize, like I said, this is Chapter 6 was the first chapter ever where I started to just lose interest in the game and skip seasons. I was skipping seasons. I, finally stopped buying battle passes for the first time ever in Chapter 6. I stopped looking forward to new seasons. I even wasn't that excited for the new chapter of Chapter 7. I just kind of was like, oh, no, new chapter, we'll check it out. I don't know. Live events, I'm not really too interested in anymore. I'm just not too really interested in this game, and it sucks as somebody who was probably one of their bigger fans ever. Gosh, the amount of hours I put into this game would probably be insane to look back at, and the amount of money that I spent in this game would probably be insane to look back at. It sucks. But yeah, it's also just boring to drop into the map now. Like, there's this new system. I think zero builds is just so hard to play. If you didn't know, I used to, obviously we all had to play, builds, and I was actually really good in Chapter 1 and, lots of Chapter 2. I was getting really good at it, but then turbo building really shot up and all the metas started coming out and people started learning crazy build techniques and stuff, and I just could not keep up. I eventually just completely moved on and away from that and just stuck with zero build since it came out in Chapter 3. And I like zero builds. I don't have any issues with it. I just don't feel like the game is still made for it. I do not feel like this game is made for it whatsoever. The items and stuff that's in this game just doesn't feel like it's made with zero build in mind. Some seasons you have some really good mobility and items to help you, push players off of you, like the baseball bat in Chapter, I believe, 6. That was pretty cool. Or the Nitro Fist, even though that season was pretty bad back in Chapter 5. But yeah, they always have some type of mobility item, it feels like, but sometimes it can make or break an entire season. There's sometimes items that are just, they're not good. Like the Greek god season where they had the wings of Icarus, where as soon as you went into the sky, you got melted, so you couldn't really use it as a, mobility item. Or even this season with the wingsuit, it's definitely better than the wings of Icarus, but you can get melted out of the sky thanks to the stupid red dot AR, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, I'm just like... Epic Games, I feel like they make mobility without genuinely considering that people play actual real players. Like, people can shoot you out of the sky. You know that, Epic Games. Like, I don't think they realize that. And I just feel like a nice little item that helps you bounce around the map or bounce from one location to the next is all you really need in zero build to keep, the player base happy. That's why they kept shockwaves in the game since, Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. They've been in the game ever since without fail, and they just now, for the first time since Chapter 4, have been taken out. A lot of people blame it on Nick A30. He's been complaining about it online, that shockwaves are just like a crutch. People use them to run away from fights too much and stuff, and I don't feel like that's the problem with shockwaves. I feel like the problem with shockwaves is it's just always shockwaves. It's always shockwaves every single season. I mean, it doesn't change the meta. That's the problem. The meta for the game has been the same for the last 4 years. It's shockwave meta for zero build players, at least. I mean, literally, you're going to carry at least 6 to 12 shockwaves in your inventory. I mean, there's sometimes I have 2 inventory slots full of 12 shockwaves just because they're so important to get away from people that are pushing you in third-party fights, or if you need to, get around the map faster. It's just like they are a necessity. So when you take something out like shockwaves and you don't replace them, I think that's the problem. It's not the problem that shockwaves were taken out. It's the problem that there's no replacement for them in the current loot pool. So Chapter 7 right now, there's really no way to get around outside of crash pads, which is just a complete joke, and the wingsuit, which is going to get you beamed out of the air. I mean, you're probably watching the clips I'm showing you right now, me beaming people with the wingsuit on. I mean, it is just a constant, easy way to kill somebody as soon as they take off with that thing. It's a slow takeoff start, plus they're just a sitting duck in the air. I don't understand how... it's just not vital, but you have to carry them just to move around the map just because you need something. It's just like they should have some type of mobility. It's a new chapter. How is there not something like to just bounce around the map? Some of my favorites, the Infinity Blade, I think is really, really good from Chapter, what was that? I can't remember. Chapter 4, Season 2. Chapter 4, Season 1 had one of my favorite movements of all time with the... Shockwave Hammer. Shockwave Hammer is a beautiful item. All they had to do is bring back one of those. I mean, if you're not going to make a new one, bring back, some of your greatest ones. how's the Shockwave Hammer like never coming back, but they bring back the Shockwaves every season? It's just like, you don't have to get rid of the Shockwaves, or you don't have to be mad that Epic got rid of the Shockwaves. Be mad that they're not replacing the Shockwaves with something else. Like the very start of the last chapter, chapter 6, season 4, I believe, with the bug season, they had these Shockwave grenade launchers, which were really cool for getting around the map. I loved them. I thought it was a great start to a season. Then they took the medallions out, they took the Shockwave launcher out, and they just broke the season down to a basic Nether season, with no movement. Movement is huge. You got to have good movement in a game, especially when you have these big maps and there's, so many players spread out. And especially also when you're playing zero builds and you have people that are third-partying you. You do everything you can to wipe out a super sweaty team, and then you're dead because another team pulled up on you in a car and you don't have anything. It shouldn't just be cars as your movement, man. There should be just items that you can put in your inventory, and not items that you need to take a bunch of and you use as like a counter. For instance, like 6 shockwaves, I have 5 shockwaves, I have 4 shockwaves. It should be something that reloads, like the gravity hammer, where you have 4 swings but they recharge and you could keep in your inventory as a permanent mobility item. Something like that is just always needed, in my opinion. And it just feels like, the season is a make or break depending on if one of those items are in the game or not. Lots of my favorite seasons are dedicated to one specific item being in the game that just made the game fun. The Gravity Hammer, that's why Chapter 4 Season 1 is one of my favorite seasons. Chapter 6 Season 2, I believe, with the baseball bat. One of my favorite items, one of my favorite seasons. The Shockwave launchers being a, purple rarity thing that you could pick up from the ground. Made it one of my favorite seasons at first, and then it blew off to being one of my least favorite seasons. There's stuff like this, all the time, and it's just like those items make or break a season for me. So do the weapons, and it's just the fact that the weapons just don't feel different. It just feels like the same shotgun meta. I feel like shotguns have not been strong since freaking Chapter 4. Dude, shotguns are so inconsistent. You'll have somebody hit you for 150, but then you'll shoot them and it'll be like 60-30, 60-30, 40-50 headshots. It just, the shotgun meta, it feels like they've been so just, soft with the shotgun meta now, where it used to be just powerful shotguns, like a really good solid tack shotgun or a really heavy hitting pump shotgun. And we haven't had that feeling, I think, dude, since like Chapter 2 and 3. Like, I don't know, shotguns just don't feel good to me. ARs have been extremely good to the point where they're too good now. I know it's just like I'm complaining like, oh, what, things are too good now. But dude, any type of red dot ARs with no bloom in a game like Fortnite is just not fun, especially in no builds, dude. I mean, there's sometimes you just get lasered out of the air, lasered across the map, lasered from a completely different location. It just, it makes it to the point where, like, why is there any other AR in the game outside of those red dots? Like, it's just that good. There's no reason to pick up anything else. I mean, to the point where, like, I don't even, like, really care. I don't even be noticing the SMGs in the game right now just because it's just such a melt with an AR finished with a shotgun meta. Snipers have felt like they've taken a backseat for the last 3 chapters. They've completely changed the way the snipers work. They now have bullet drop for some reason, which none of the other guns in the game have bullet drop. To me, it's either have all the weapons be bullet drop or all the weapons be hit scan. You can't mix and match because it's just confusing. I do not like how the sniper is the only weapon in the game right now that has a bullet drop, and it's like a semi-auto with 3 shots instead of a heavy-hitting bolt, where it used to do like almost 3/4 of your health when someone got sniped. It was a big deal when you snipe somebody, which is hard. Like, it's harder to snipe somebody in this current day and age. I mean, there's sliding, there's sprinting, there's all these different mobility items. It is hard to land a snipe on somebody. This isn't classic Fortnite. So I don't know why it feels like you're even more punished for it now. Where you're hitting somebody with a snipe, you're like, ooh, I hit him, and it says 80. 80 is insane when there's also 50 Evo shield in the game, meaning that you're only doing like 30 actual damage to their shield. It's like almost like throwing a rock at them. It's just like you don't even want to pick up a sniper anymore. And I used to love the snipers. Like, I used to always make sure I had a sniper in my inventory. And there's, and thanks to this, now with a guaranteed mobility item and a sniper, you almost have no room to carry heals or anything, which I also find an issue. I don't know why there's not like a system where you can have like a backpack just to have like an extra 1 or 2 slots just for heals, or even if like you only could put heals in there or mobility items, that would be cool. Just a little backpack that I can stop, open up, and you'd have to stop and open up your menu in order to pull it out. It's not something that you can immediately just like keybind or anything. That's the point of it. It's a book bag. You're supposed to like stop and open it up. That'd be pretty cool. So that way you can pop a heal or something. You can put heals in your book bag. But, anything like that would have been cool. But like I said, they're not adding things that change the game or change the meta really at all. In fact, in Chapter 7, I don't think there was any new mechanic change or any new vehicle or really anything that drastically changed the game up. It still feels like, this chapter feels like a new season. And if people are already bored with this chapter a month in, it scares me for how in the world they're going to make it through the rest of this year when they're not even in February yet. That's why I'm like, I really do feel like this could be that spot where like this could be it for Fortnite. But yeah, it just, the content, the map, the weapons, the mobility items, it just doesn't feel like it's hitting. And even the season themes don't feel like they're that special. Like a bug theme season? What? Another heist season? What are we doing? Like, it just doesn't feel like they're that special. Like this one, I genuinely don't, to start Chapter 6, it was like a samurai oriental theme, similar to what they did in Chapter 4, Season 2. I like that. Cool. Bring that back, do more with that, make a whole map kind of based around that. That's fine. What is this even based on? I think it's supposed to be based on Hollywood. It doesn't feel, what is a Hollywood theme? Like, how do you base loot and the season and locations? How is that based around Hollywood? There's one POI on the entire map that's based on a movie set, and it's a small one. Like, what are we trying to do here? I don't know. It's strange to me. It's just like these season themes don't make sense. It's just like they're half-baked ideas. And when they do have a good theme, like the Greek god theme, which should have been a lot better than what it was, they have a couple of Greek god mythics and they call it a day. I mean, that they should have really went full-fledged into that thing. They should have had mythics for all the Greek gods and stuff, and very similar to what they did with the first Marvel season of Chapter 2, but they didn't. I don't know. I feel like the ideas, like I said, are always half-baked. They did a second Marvel season with Doctor Doom. I felt like it was inferior completely compared to the first one that they did back in Chapter 2. I don't know. It's just the ideas that they do have are not landing, and there's a lot of ideas that they're not even tapping in yet. I'm going to move into content creation real quick, just simply due to the fact that, like I said, I create content. If you don't know, I have almost 400,000 on my main channel, Nintendo Land. It's the same thing as this channel, but without the land in, just Nintendo Land, where I've been covering Nintendo content literally for, I don't even know how long. It's been for the last 7 to 8 years. I've been making content, and I've just been, pretty much covering all the major, Nintendo releases, Mario games, Zelda games, whatever it may be. And just kind of, talking about the latest games and just kind of, the trailers and the gameplay and making videos about them, speculation, news, all that stuff. I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows of content creation. I know when things are doing well, when things are not doing well. I know what games are big for people, what games aren't. And you just kind of know the trends. And I will say I understand, the sentiment. A lot of people are getting mad at some of these Fortnite content creators saying your content's not doing well simply because you keep doing the same stuff. After you're doing the same stuff for 10 years, it gets old. That's not true. I have done the same stuff for 10 years, and they continuously do well. Every single year to start the year, I do the same thing. I do this big prediction video for the year, and I do the same kind of layout and the same ideas, and they always do well. As soon as a new game comes out, I do the same coverage. I do a big analysis of it. I do, deep dives, predictions. When a game comes out, I cover it the same exact way. I completely understand where these content creators like Cypher PK are coming from, where, to start a brand new season or start a brand new chapter, you're going to do the same things. It's a big, first reveal. You show off the battle pass, you show off the map, you show off, the main gimmicks and stuff. And then, for the rest of that season and chapter, you do the same things. It's the same cycle, and they got to keep it up. They keep up doing the same things. I don't think there's much else you could do with Fortnite. I know some people are like, get creative and do this and do that. But I'm like, Fortnite doesn't have to, there's not some new special mode that's going to draw people in. There's not some new special item that's going to be big enough to let people, no one's going to come into someone's Fortnite video and say, hey, I can't wait to see, new information on this new AR. It's been 10 years of Fortnite. No one cares about a new AR. There's been hundreds of ARs in the loot pool. It's just it doesn't matter what update or content that they add. It's not going to change too much. So no, I don't think this is a, content creator issue. I think this does, result in games, because I will tell you, for video games that I've covered from Nintendo that didn't view well on my channel, almost every single time those games didn't do well themselves in the market. They didn't sell that well compared to other games and stuff. When I have a video that's popping off every time I put it out, for instance, there's specific games, Luigi's Mansion 3, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon 2, Splatoon 3. When I put videos out for those games, they blew up every single video. I could put out any video regarding those games and they would do extremely well. But I didn't get those same results when I did it with Donkey Kong Bonanza, or even some points with Mario Kart World, or even some areas with, a lot of the games that came out for Switch 2 so far, because they're not those big heavy hitters. They're not those big things that get people excited. You know what I mean? Like the next 3D Mario, Smash Brothers, Zelda, Animal Crossing, the stuff that people really care about. So that's the same thing that's going on here. Why would anybody care about, yet again, another chapter that's, a very similar looking map, similar looking loot pool, no big changes, no big switch up to the game? It's not that, I've seen some people say, like, we need an extraction. No, we don't. No, we don't need an extraction mode. We don't need all these, like, CSGO, Valorant type modes. They try to add it, and it was all half, worked. It wasn't really what it should have been. That's the thing. If they add an extraction mode, it's not going to be fully worth it. You know what I mean? It's going to be, half-baked, and it's not going to feel anywhere near as good as a counterpart like Valorant or anything like that, CSGO. They need to stop adding all these stupid modes and focus on Battle Royale. They need to make, yet again, a rebooted, fun experience for Battle Royale. And I've been saying for a while, like, you know what? You might be asking, okay, Nintendo Landon, what should they do? I'll tell you right now what they should do. How to bring back Fortnite? Easy, super simple. Let's do it. Brand new chapter. Chapter 8 is a brand new reboot of the game. It reboots the game entirely. It changes a lot of the movement mechanics and just, it makes the game feel extremely fresh, like almost it's a Fortnite 2. You know what I mean? Reboot the game, have a really dynamic, fun, interesting map that's not a basic flat island with your snow mountains and the occasional desert. Make biomes feel super special. Have an entire biome dedicated to space and there's spaceships and shuttles and aliens and crazy wacky things. Have an entire biome dedicated to ancient Egypt where there's pyramids and pharaohs and sand dunes and vehicles dedicated to those biomes. Make each area of the map feel special when you land in it. Like you can call out each biome that you're in. I'm in the Jurassic Park jungle. Oh, I'm in the desert. You know what I mean? It needs to feel dynamic and special. It shouldn't be, oh, I'm in the city with the neighborhoods once again and a snow mountaintop. And, it's the same looking areas over and over and over again. Drastically change your map, drastically change the areas and the design philosophy of the map. It doesn't have to have snow mountains in the north or south every single time. Maybe make the giant mountain range in the center where the rest of the island spreads out to the rest. Make cliff sides or giant windmills overlooking valleys of grass and valleys of flower fields and farmlands. Like, make it feel classic while also adding a pizzazz to it that feels different. Change the art style back to a vibrant, beautiful look like you did back in Chapter 4 and back in Chapter 3 and 2. Make the map and the art style and the graphics of the game feel good again. Special, like Fortnite is supposed to be. Take out all the stupid junk like medallions and NPCs and stupid bots. Stop filling the game with bots. I feel like 90% of lobbies are still bots. I don't see how anyone could find it fun walking up to a complete AI-controlled character who literally misses all their shots at you. It's just not fun. If you want to play with bots, make it a separate game mode where people can play with nothing but bots if they want it that way. Or they can fill 50% of their lobby with bots if they want it that way. Let there be some type of fill for that. Bring back limited time modes, fun, goofy modes to play. They haven't had consistent limited time modes since like Chapter 1, a little bit in Chapter 2, but that's it. Have limited time modes come back for both builds and non-builds to get people playing other things than just regular Battle Royale. They got these Blitz and these reload modes, which I think reload's a good idea, but they need to have other modes as well. Blitz was just another reload that they recopied. I don't know why that even happened. They literally just needed to have reload and that was it. But I feel like other game modes, like they used to have Plain Royale and all kinds of other things. They used to have Floors, Lava, and all gold guns, shotguns only, close encounters. Like, bring back those type of modes. Why did they ever go away? I feel like having those modes in both builds and no builds would be a lot of fun. Of course, you can't do the ground is lava, I don't think, in no builds, unless you use the map's terrain or something, or they put some stuff on the map for that to work better. But either way, I feel like they need to have some game modes return again, because it made it really fun. Or like that game mode where there was like no weapons, but instead it was like sticky grenades and shockwaves and stuff. Like, having stuff like that is fun. They have these moments where people are like, oh, that looks fun, I want to give that a try. These less competitive modes where non-competitive players can jump in and try them out. Why do they ever stop giving us those? Once again, I feel like the attention is more on collabs. It's more on these stupid half-baked ideas like these CSGO game modes, instead of focusing on what made the game popular in the first place, which was its battle royale. That's its life force, its blood. Of course, you can't get rid of things like creative mode. It's also where a lot of the players are going right now. In fact, most of the players are still in stuff like still the brain rot, which is it's stupid. I get it, but there's a fan base for that crap. Leave it in the game for them. But man, I just, it just kind of, it lets me down with all the things that they could be doing. Make the battle pass nothing but original, fun, edible, not like eating, editable skins that you can customizable, I should say. Make the battle pass full of custom, unique, for the game specific skins. No collab skins anymore, not even as a secret skin. Make a whole battle pass of fun, unique, creative skins that you can even customize. Remember they used to have customizable skins like Maya back then on Chapter 2, or you could customize, or you could pick one direction for your skin back at the secret agent skins. Like for Meowscles, you could pick the dark or the light version. Stuff like that, really, puts you into the game more. Ooh, I can customize this skin the way I want it to look, and stuff like that. What happened to that? It's just like so many good ideas that Fortnite once had. It just feels like it's just a thing of the past now. It's just an old relic. Have mobility items in the loot pool. I would have brand new vehicles and brand new mobility items. There would be things, not only mobility items. I feel like they could even tie mobility items to the main movement. Like have things like skateboards or roller skates that you can pull out. They probably can't do that because there's emotes where you can pull out a skateboard and ride it. Once again, locking themselves out of potential really good content for the game. I would love just to be able to pull out a skateboard or a roller blade and ride or drive around the map or stuff a lot faster, instead of just sprinting all the time. Could you imagine? Or if you're in a snow region, you could pull out a snowboard and go down a hill. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Or maybe there's like some sections you could pull out like a foldable bike and ride it around to get to areas much faster. You're still going to probably get beamed off the thing, but it helps you to get around the map faster. And if you can't find a car or anything like that, and if you want to drive off the beaten path, off the road and stuff, maybe like an off-road bike that you can pull out. Like I said, skateboards for the roadways and stuff, or even rollerblades, or if it's a Christmas season or there's ice on a lake or something, you can pull out ice rink blades. I'm losing my train of thought of what they're even called. You know what I'm talking about. Ice skates. Gosh, I can't even talk. But yeah, stuff like that would be really cool just to add movement. And, also, they want to add all these crazy movements like rolling after a jump or wall jumping or wall running. Add freaking wall climbing, like Breath of the Wild. There's so many issues right now with no build still where, there's a lot of the times the game might end on a giant cliff or a giant mountain and you can't do anything about it. They should have the option just to, slowly climb up the side of a mountain. It'd be slow, or maybe it has stamina bar or something, but being able to climb up the side of a mountain would be so cool. It would be so much better in my opinion. I feel like they're literally just missing opportunities. Just being able to climb up the side of a building entirely. If someone's camping at the top, or if someone's camping at the top of a mountain, you can climb up the side of a mountain as well. Like I said, they're just missing opportunities. I think doing something like that would drastically save Fortnite, but they're just too safe. And I don't know how a company's so safe with its game after almost a decade of it being out. How are we getting the same looking maps over and over and over again? How are we getting the same repeated seasons, the same loot pool? Also with the loot pool, we're not even seeing creative weapons anymore. Remember we used to get the goofy stuff like the blow up cow, inflated cow thing from the Alien season of Chapter 2, or the gravity gun when you could pick up things and throw them at people. The loot pool is just so safe. It's so Call of Duty coded, where it's just like your safe basic ARs and shotguns. And I know that's how the game used to be, but you remember as you were progressing through the later half of Chapter 1 and even the entirety of Chapter 2, you were getting bottle rockets and, rifts, porter rifts and junk rifts and, airstrikes and stuff and all kinds of crazy stuff. Vehicles were crazy. You were getting tanks and battle buses and UFOs and all this stuff. We're not seeing any of that stuff anymore. Like the last real machine or vehicle that I can imagine that I can remember was the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters. That's like the last vehicle that we've gotten, last original vehicle in the game. I'm trying to really think back. What's the last vehicle we gotten? Was it the dirt bikes in Chapter 4? Like, oh my gosh, that's insane. And then after that, before that, it was like the battle bus, I think, in Chapter 3. Man, it's crazy. It's just like all these chapters and no new, vehicles and stuff. It's truly a letdown, to be honest. It's just like, what are we doing? Yeah, I just think it also comes down to just Fortnite's identity is just changing. The updates now I feel like are also always coded towards an IP. Like there's always some new collab with skins, and they throw in some item or weapons from those collabs. And I get it. I guess that's hard to complain about. At least they're giving us some content instead of just skins, like the Stick of Truth coming, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, weapons, or the Avatar airbending and firebending, rock bending, all that stuff, earthbending. That was pretty cool. But I don't know. It's just not Fortnite. It doesn't feel like Fortnite. It doesn't feel like Fortnite anymore. It feels like we're just playing a Star Wars spinoff when it's time, or something else, a South Park spinoff. I don't know. There's something about the game that just doesn't feel right. Do I think Fortnite is dead, or will it ever die? I don't know if it will ever die. I don't know if that's the way that I want to look at this. I don't think Fortnite is ever going to die. I think there's always going to be somebody making a stupid map in creative mode or something like that. I just feel like the hype for Fortnite felt like it was about to peak a couple of years ago. They were talking about this creative mode 2.0 and kind of like talking it up like it was going to be this huge new thing that was going to drastically change gaming forever. It came out and it was like completely bare bones and lackluster, and it just wasn't anywhere near as good as we thought it was going to be. We were hearing that there was going to be like custom battle royales that people were going to be making and stuff. We thought we was going to have endless battle royale experiences with creative, community-made battle royales and stuff. But some of them came out, they were half-baked. There wasn't enough memory that's in the game where you can make an actual like full-size map. It never really came into fruition the way we was really hoping it would. We didn't see, a lot of people were acting like we were going to get completely custom-made game modes and games and stuff from the community, and we really didn't get any of that. And just Creative Mode 2.0 just ended up being like a small Creative Mode update, it felt like, if anything. And we haven't really seen much of the implications since then. I mean, I think the biggest things in creative mode was like the Only Up and Death Run maps and stuff. And then after that, it was just like the fashion shows that, content creators were doing. But yeah, as far as Battle Royale goes, I feel like that's what's more in danger right now. I feel like creative mode is going to continue to be its thing. But yeah, it might just be it might end up being just a creative mode thing. But yeah, it just seems like a new chapter for Fortnite we're in. And it just still seems like the same stuff Fortnite's been doing. It's just constant collabs shoved down your throat. I mean, dude, it's just like, it used to be like one major collab, maybe 2 collabs a season. It's like literally a collab every couple of weeks now, it feels like. It's just like, if this is what people want, well, this is why, people are tuning out with the game, because it's just not interesting. People don't want to come back to the game just because Scooby-Doo's in the game, bro. No one's going to come back to the game because Kim Kardashian or whoever it is, Kylie Jenner or whoever's in the game. No one's going to come back to the game for them. Like, what are we doing? I don't think anybody's going to come back to the game to play as freaking Dwight. They might, to play as Dwight in Fortnite. Who knows? Steve Carell is in Fortnite. Let's go. Timothy Chalamet, Tom Holland's in Fortnite. It's just, oh my gosh. Yeah, this game it's moved into a direction that's it's starting to become unrecognizable. And like I said, nothing lasts forever. That's the thing. I remember back when we were playing in Chapter 1 and all my friends were like this is going to be the game we play until we die. And I remember being the one to tell them, no, this game is going to fall off. Every great game falls off. Every good game, some of my favorite games of all time, eventually start to peter off and new things take its place. Like, it's not going to stay on. And they're like, no, you're crazy. This game is just going to keep updating the seasons and the chapters. It's going to stay on. And no longer than, halfway through Chapter 2, most of, like, 90% of my friends that used to play the game consistently stopped playing. Nowadays, I think I'm one of the only ones that consistently played the game. Out of hundreds of my friends that used to. It's sad. It really is. Some of my friends are trying to make it a comeback, but they'll play a couple games and it's just not the same. Especially if you haven't played since Chapter 3, 2, or even 4, or even 5. You're going to jump into this game and 99% of the lobby is going to be filled with bots now, which is just crazy. Unless you're in a really competitive lobby, almost over 70% of the lobby is just going to be AI bots where you're running around killing, brain dead computer players, which is just like, and it's clear to me that Epic Games doesn't want to change that. That's going to be a thing I can tell forever now, where it's just bots are going to be in lobbies, which just sucks. I hate it. I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's really, really bad for the game. I do not like it. If people want to play a bot so bad, there should be private lobbies where you can do that. So, I don't know. I hate this. It's very noticeable when there's a bot too. You can walk right up to them and they'll miss every shot. No matter how much they tweak them, a bot's a bot and it'll be very noticeable. And they're just annoying and a nuisance, and I hate them so much. It's probably the worst part of this game that I hate the most. Yeah, not fun. But yeah, Fortnite. We need to talk. So no. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a wild ride for the last couple of years, and I don't want the game to die. Of course, I wish the game could continue, but I find myself playing Call of Duty more than I find myself playing Fortnite, which is disgusting because I used to hate Call of Duty. I still don't really like Call of Duty, but I'm just like, I don't know. The game's just not doing it for me right now. Like I almost feel like I forced myself to play Fortnite the last couple of chapters and seasons, and it's just not been enjoyable. It feels like the same game over and over and over again, and just thinking about having to be on the same island with the same art style and the same mechanics for another year until 2027 just feels gross to me. I have no interest in coming back to this game right now. I'll play it. I'm sure the next season I'll jump in and play a little bit, but I feel like I'm out of it. I'm out of the loop. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think about Fortnite. Do you think it's over? Do you think Epic Games is going to revitalize this thing? Do you think content creation is dying for the game? Just let me know kind of how you feel about this game, because I just needed to rant about it. But thank you guys for tuning in, and have a blessed day, and be safe. There's a big winter storm coming this weekend, especially here up in the north. So just be careful out there. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next one. Go in God.